everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about the 7 elements of art. Okay, so these are vocabulary words that we use to talk about art and to describe pieces of artwork. We can also say that they are the building blocks of art. Do you know what building blocks are? Building blocks are things that you put together to make something bigger, okay? So for example, look, imagine that art was like a house. This is my house, and these are my building blocks. So here you see the 7 building blocks of art are color, value, form, shape, texture, line, and space. So I'm going to explain to you what each one of those means. The first element I'm going to talk to you about is line. So a line is like a dot, that's a dot, that decides to take a walk. So imagine this line decides to walk. So the dot becomes a line. And lines can be different. This, for example, is a straight line, okay? Lines can also be swirly, like this, okay? They can be wavy, like that. They can be zigzag, like this. They can be dashed, which means they're not joined together, so still a line, but a dashed line. They can be diagonal, so like this. Next, I'm going to show you a picture which shows some different types of lines. See if you can identify them from the different names that I've just taught you. Next element of art is color. Everyone knows what color is, right? But does anyone know what the 3 primary colors are? So those are the colors that we can't make by mixing other colors. Any ideas? So they are yellow, blue, and red. Okay, and these plus white and black, we can mix them to make all the other colors that we see in the world, okay? And so, do you know what it's called when we mix 2 primary colors together? Secondary colors, okay? What happens if we mix yellow plus blue? We get green, yes. And if we mix red and yellow? Orange, yeah. And if we mix blue and red? Purple, yeah. So there you can see the primary and the secondary colors. Now, of course, there are also a lot more colors. So next, I'm going to show you a color wheel, which shows how you can make a wheel to mix different colors to make a range of different colors. So I want you to try and make a color wheel at home. Next we have texture, which is basically, imagine if you could feel a piece of artwork. How would it feel? That's its texture, okay? So here I've got an example of different types of textures. So for example, this is a bit of a rough texture made of dots. This is a sort of checkered texture, a squiggly texture. It's one made of circles. So why don't you experiment at home with just a pen and a paper and see the different textures that you can make. Next we have shape. So shape is 2D spaces that are enclosed by lines, okay? That sounds kind of complicated, but I'm sure we know some shapes. What is this? Triangle. And what about that? Square. This. Circle. And this. Rectangle. There's also lots more shapes. So I'm gonna attach a photo of different shapes, and I want you to try and draw the different shapes that are shown in the photo. Next we have form. Now form is similar to shape, except that it is 3D. So do you know what that means? When we go to the movies, have you ever watched a 3D movie? It pops out at you, right? So, how can we make a square or rectangle 3D? Like that. What about a triangle? Like that. And a circle. Now these have different names. So for example, this is called a cylinder. This is called a cube. But basically the important thing about form is it has height, width, and depth, rather than just height and width like a shape. So next I'm going to show you some pictures of different forms, and I want you to try and draw them. Next we have space, okay? And that's the emptiness around or in objects. So for example, if I was to draw a square, the space is in here and around it. That's all space. Next we have value, okay? Value talks about the darkness or lightness of a picture. So look, for example, you can show value by drawing a scale from dark to light, like I've done here. So this is the darkest and this is the lightest. So I want you to try and make your own scale. You just need to draw a rectangle like this, and you start pressing your pen very, very hard, as hard as you can. And then you slowly go softer and softer and softer. So you get a range of dark to light. So why don't you try and make your own value scale at home? I'm going to attach another photo to show you more about value, and then I want you to recreate it. So there's the end of the 7 elements of art. I know it's a lot of information and a lot of things that you can do, so you don't have to do it all at one time, but why don't you try and see what you can do with the different elements of art. I've given you a lot of photos and pictures to try and work with, so just have fun with it. Also, I have a Kahoot for you to do to see how much you paid attention. So do that Kahoot and see how much you learnt.